Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeffery Combs, president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Welcome to Facebook Live. Breathe, release, and let go. That is my standard affirmation that I use in all of my branding. I'm in the process of trademarking that term. I've owned a few trademark brands in my life as I'm still overcoming COVID hair. For those of you who experienced that, you know what I mean. Sandra, good to see you this afternoon. Sandra Ragoza, thank you for being a loyal follower and fan. I do appreciate your comments, your patronage, and you being here on my Facebook Lives. David Hurricane Harris, David, good to see you, my brother. Breathe, release, and let go. Good to see all of you here on the Tuesday, what used to be the More Heart Than Talent Mindset Call. It has now evolved into Golden Mastermind Seminars. Facebook Live, 1 p.m. Pacific. For well over 18 years, I hosted this as a live conference call every Tuesday night at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. And back in the day, it was called More Heart Than Talent Mindset. And I was a young man when I started that process 26 years ago, back in 1998. I launched Golden Mastermind Seminars and immediately started a mindset call that I hosted at 10:30 Eastern for 18 consecutive years. Let me think about this. For 21 consecutive years. And I did a Facebook Live, or I did a mindset call every Tuesday night at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. And at times, it would have as many as 500 people on it. I interviewed the great Jim Rohn, Mark Victor Hansen, John Assaraf, Pat Mesiti, a host of speakers, authors, inspirational intuitives, people from all walks of life. So some of those are available on my Golden Mastermind podcast and some of the old archives back in the day. Candace, good to see you. Mike Green, good to see you. Topic for today's Facebook Live is be the observer, not the participant. Now, that does sound contradictory in some ways, yet is right down the middle in others. So the chessboard that you're watching in the world today, so if you are awake, if you're aware, if you are down the rabbit hole, and you are watching what's going on politically, spiritually, emotionally, and what's going on in the world, and you are in consciousness, then you have either some level of understanding or you have a lot of level of understanding about what is happening in the world. It is a term called trauma-based mind control. This is not a concept. This is not new. This is a reality that has been happening for multiple years, well over 200 plus years. So it's important that you have an understanding of what it means to get off the chessboard and to be an observer, not a participant. It's going to be your responsibility to let go of the brain fog you're in, the trauma-based mind control you've experienced, to let go of the overwhelmed feelings you feel, the apathy that you will feel at times, the hopelessness, and a multitude of other feelings that you will experience as you're watching some of your freedoms being taken from you, eroding from you, and other situations. It's important that you understand that you as a sovereign citizen, you can be a free sovereign in this world today by getting off the chessboard and participating in life in a different energy than you have been over the period of years, through music, signs, symbology, through specific programming, through television, YouTube, a multitude of situations. You have been systematically programmed to think and feel a certain way. And then the food we consume, the medication we take, the approach that we've taken medically, pharmaceutically, and then the banking industry, it's a lot to contend with. However, as you begin to let go of your anxiety, fear, and doubt and start to be your own sovereign citizen, a free sovereign, meaning that you start to take command of your own emotional state and that you are no longer the mind-body connection to the trauma bonds and the events that shape your feelings. And Mike just said, all is being censored. That is correct. Big Brother is watching you. George Carlin is famous for saying You've seen the statement that Carlin said. However, Carlin is one of them, and that term is called controlled opposition. So you want to have a better understanding of who to trust, who to watch, who to be aware of, where to devote your time and energy. And I pray to my God. I give it up to my Savior, Jesus Christ, and I spend my time devoting my energy where it is deserved, not where it's going to be traumatized. I devote my energy to production, results, service, value, and attracting people who I can collaborate with, who are off that chessboard, who are off the matrix. If you want to, there's a new movie with Julia Roberts in it. That's a whole nother story down the rabbit hole. I could spend an hour on her alone. But the new movie with Julia Roberts is exactly what it's called. It's called Hide in Plain Sight. So it's predictive programming. And so that's what's happening through music, entertainments, sports, and all the other venues that many people become emotionally addicted to. And your objective would be to take yourself out of this trauma-based mind control. Remove yourself off the chessboard. Watch from it over here where you're a participant in high consciousness. You're able to watch the pieces on the chessboard be moved. You're not shocked anymore. You're not in a state of overwhelm. You're not feeling depressed or not feeling like you're losing something. What you're gaining is your access to the quantum field, to higher consciousness. Higher consciousness is also, in my world, is called God. And as you begin to open yourself up to more of that connection, and you're able to see beyond that which is physical, and you focus on being that sovereign business owner, that man or woman who is a leader grower, and a mentor. Susan, so good to see you this afternoon. Ashley, good to see both of you. Denise, good to see you. And I love your logo there, Susan. Good to see you. Emily, good to see you. So many good, exceptional people. So as Sandra just said, be in a state of clarity. Focus on what's going to bring you the greatest return on your, ROTE is return on time and energy. That's a term, ROTE, return on time and energy. Where is my greatest value going to come from? It's going to come from people. It's going to come from creating relationships with people, being a person of influence, of affluence, being a leader, a mentor, and someone who can attract mentees, building a culture, building a business, being able to create products, services, benefits, and features, having a specific skill and a specific niche. Amber, so good to see you this afternoon. Mike Green, top-tier real estate professional. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. For those who've ever considered moving to God's country, and it really is, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is where my man Mike Green is right there. Mike says he is expanding. So good to see all of you. That is correct, Candace. Return on time and energy. It's an acronym that I invented multiple years ago. I want to thank all of you for your patronage, for your friendship, for your following me over the years. Some of you have been your coach for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. I know, Ashley, you have followed me for going on 8 years. Susan, I've been your coach for 8 years. Mike, you followed me for years. Dorothy Wirt is on today's call. I've been Dorothy's coach for 21 years. 21 years I've known Dorothy. Now, this is just a little of my history. Back in 2001, I co-authored this book, Money is My Friend. Some of you have never seen this book, but I bought the rights to this book from the great Phil Lott, and I added 3 chapters to it. That was 2001 and 2. This was my first book in 2002. This is More Heart Than Talent. This is the revised and expanded edition that I recreated in 2016. In 2007, I wrote this book, Psychologically Unemployable. I also edited this book. This book was originally called From Procrastination to Production. I sold this book. This is the only book I ever sold through an agent. I sold that book to Career Press, published in 4 languages. I've sold over 50,000 copies of that internationally. Pat Mesiti, the #1 speaker in Australia, who said, you either learn from mistakes or you learn from mentors. That's Pat Mesiti. He's bought over thousands of books from me. That book is my bestseller. I wrote this book in 2015, The Anger Factor. And then I wrote this book in 2018, The Breakthrough Factor. Now, if you would have told me in 1985 that I would be a published author, I wouldn't have believed at the time, because I was a drug addict, a drug dealer, a chronic alcoholic, pathological liar, serial cheater, and rock bottom loser. That's where I was in 1985. 10 years later, 1995, I'm $100,000 in credit card debt as a business owner through multiple failed ventures. However, I was beginning to attract a series of mentors. Tom Big Al Schreider. I was in a company called TPN, the People's Network, and Jim Rohn was one of the deliverers of content, and that Mark Victor Hansen was one of the deliverers of content. Tom Hopkins, just to name a few. It was a satellite feed, and I started to watch content from that network, and it was on a satellite that used to bring in personal development and self-improvement, and it was a network marketing company, and the top income earner was Darren Hardy, and Eric Worre was in it, and Jeff Olson were in it, and they were my uplines in that business back in 1994. This is when I started to learn the value of leverage and being a mentee to mentors, even if it wasn't one-on-one. And I started to hear how other people were breaking through. I started to hear how I could be a six-figure income earner. And then not only that, I started to see how other people were monthly six-figure income earners in the 90s, and I began to cross that bridge. And then I started to understand the content down the rabbit hole. In 1996, 7, and 8, I met G. Edward Griffin, the author of The Creature from Jekyll Island. I started to study and understand what FICA money meant. I began to understand how money is created in free enterprise. I started to have a better understanding of what infinite banking means. I started to understand what velocity banking means. And I started to have a better understanding of what free of debt means versus debt free. There's a complete difference between debt free and free of debt. And so what is important right now is that you understand, you are all aware of this, 2024 is going to be an election year. What does that mean to you? It's going to mean whatever it means, but there's a high probability there will be more chaos and more drama. There will be price fixing and other situations that are going to be happening, but that as a sovereign business owner, you can play on a different chessboard. Don't play on their chessboard. Watch their chessboard. Participate over here for you. Be a mentor. It's a different level of leadership. That means you let go of your anxiety, of the responsibility of, oh my God, I'm not sure if I can lead people. Well, you can lead people if you can lead yourself. If you can lead yourself, if you can go through a day without relapsing, well, you can teach other people how to do it by leading by example. So that level of sovereignty is emotional discipline. It means you can go back-to-back days by being productive. And being productive means that you do what your business requires without rebelling against it, without avoiding it, without procrastinating it. You lean into it and you buy into that business. Because your sovereignty is not going to come from a government. It's not going to come from people in Congress. It's not going to come from Senate. It's not going to come from anywhere but within you and your God. It's going to require you to break through of the trauma bonds, the brain fog, the panic patterns, the story that you tell yourself. It is your infinite right to be rich. That is the great Bob Proctor. I shared the stage with him on 4 different occasions. He wrote the book, You Were Born Rich, in the early 2000s. I had the opportunity to speak with him backstage on 4 different occasions. So, once again, it's your infinite right. It's your desire. You deserve it to be able to be free, a free sovereign in free enterprise where you can operate on your terms and your time frame. And that is only going to come by your emotional discipline, your commitment to being your best self one day at a time, letting go of the stories and the trauma bonds, the panic patterns, and the brain fog you hold on to. It's going to be important that you learn to outproduce your problems, that you learn you have to be able to set in stationary places, that you are in a relaxed energy where you can produce results from. Ideally, it would be from the comfort of your home, if possible. Whatever your business model is, but it's important that you buy into that and that you step out of that matrix. You get off that black and white Freemason chessboard and you step into your higher power, which I choose to call God. And when you start to step into that power and you let go of all the stories and the drama and the trauma that you tell yourself, and you focus on you and the people in your influence. That's your family and your team. Because if your family's on board with you, that's awesome. If they aren't, you still succeed in spite or despite the situation, because you have to believe that you are good enough. If you don't believe if you're not good enough, then you're just having conversation. It's highly important that you buy in to how good you can be, how comfortable you can be, how everything you require is in free enterprise. It's where the free market bears. You can create it. One of my clients that's speaking at Millionaire Blueprint in the insurance industry makes $1.4 million a year. I've been his coach for 13 years on and off. He's one of the speakers, and he's going to cover the insurance products that many people don't understand, indexed annuities. I have another speaker at my event who's going to cover infinite banking. What does that really mean, infinite banking? He's going to cover the laws that govern money. He learned a lot of this content from me, but on his own, he's taken, because I've been his mentor, he's been an outstanding mentee, but he's going to next level his own content because he understands the inner game of money. The inner game of money is from an inner game of spirit, and that spirit that money has, it's going to be your responsibility to be skilled at attracting the people that you can collaborate, that you can create win-win situations with, that you can create teammates with, that you can create leaders. So you must be a leader grower in today's world. And if you're avoiding leadership, you're avoiding leading yourself. You're avoiding doing the dishes. You're avoiding making your bed, because your rebellious nature is not going to take you to the land of free enterprise. If you want to be a sovereign in free enterprise, where you are completely free of the system, where you never borrow money from anyone but yourself. I never borrow money from anyone but myself. I own my house outright. I have a HELOC on my house. If I want to borrow money, I can borrow it directly from the house I live in. I don't ever borrow money. I never pay interest on anything. I never, ever pay interest on any money, because I understand the laws that govern money. And the laws that govern money go back to 1119 with 9 celibate knights called the Knights Templars. They had a red cross. They had a red shield on their shield. Hence the term red shield, red cross, Knights of Hospitallers, Rothschild, red shield, Rothschild, a Bavarian family that controls the world. And once you begin to understand who controls the banking world, now you'll understand who controls the mortgage industry, you'll understand who controls the Fed, you'll understand that the Federal Reserve has nothing to do federally, and you'll understand how to play the game as a sovereign citizen in free enterprise, where you can create your own banking system. But this can't come from being broke, being in poverty consciousness. It can't come from lack. It has to come from spirit. It has to come from God. It has to come from within. You have to be able to say it, speak it, chant it, believe it, scream it. And you have to be able to let go of how much anxiety you've lived in, the trauma you've held on to. You have to let the tears fall. You have to let the pain, you have to release the pain you hold on to. You have to learn to lead yourself. Thank you, Fallon. That is so good. You have to learn to lead yourself so you can lead others. Would you follow you? And if the answer is no, you can change today. That's what you have. You have within you the power of God, the power of source. You have it within you. It's right there, but you have to believe it. That's a sense of certainty. And if you don't have a certainty, then you're uncertain. And if you're uncertain, you're in doubt. And if you're in doubt, you're in lack. And if you're in lack, then you're in poverty consciousness. And if you're in poverty consciousness, trauma-based mind control will consume you. It will eat you alive, because you will absolutely fall prey to GMOs, bad food, bad karma, other situations. You'll believe in bad luck and all these other situations rather than being a sovereign citizen, in complete command of your own emotions. If you're trying to control the outcome, it won't happen. You have to let go of the outcome. What you can have a command of is your emotional body. That means your ability to make amends on command, your ability to forgive on command, your ability to ask for forgiveness without an excuse, your ability to be a great father, to be a great parent, your ability to let go, your ability to be emotional when time calls for it, your ability to be vulnerable so people can see that you are real, not fake, not perfect, not a fucking porcelain god, not someone who wears a tinfoil hat, not someone who doesn't really grasp it. You have to really step into your own power. And this takes courage, a quality that very few people have. And there's always a market for it. There's so much of a market for courage. Courage is not an emotion. Courage is a quality, and you access it when you require it. And it takes intestinal fortitude. It takes guts. It takes the will sometimes to be able to persevere when you have nothing. I've been there. And it's so important that you master your emotional state. For those of you who I coach, for those of you who spend quality time with me at intimate events in the next year, I'm going to be 67 years young. I'm going to do this for 10 more years. And I guarantee you, I can guarantee certain situations, because I'm in command of my emotions. I will guarantee I will be my best coach that you've ever had. And not only in 2024, but right here today. I can guarantee that. And if you're ready to really next level and be able to transcend your levels of consciousness, then it's important that you teach yourself how to let go. I will give you the insight in letting go, but you must be your own sovereign to this. You have to be, you absolutely, I will teach you the mastery. You master your emotions. I'll show you the mechanism. I'll show you the skill set. It's going to be up to you to sometimes let those tears fall right there and be able to let go of that repressed pain that you hold on to. Let go of the stuffed feelings that give you gut issues, to let go of the feelings you hold on to that create constipation and irritable bowel syndrome and prostate issues and bladder issues and all the other situations when you are backed up, stuffed up, and all these other situations that are mind-body connections that you absolutely deserve to breathe, release, and let go of, so that you are no longer the mind-body connection to the events that shape the feelings. If you watch this new movie that people are talking about, look for all the signs, symbology, and symbols that's in it. Let your naked eye see it all. Be the observer, not the participant. Watch, when you're going down the road in the future, be an observer of what's happening in the world. Watch how people have been trauma-based mind controlled. Be aware of how many people they live in TikTok. They operate off a very small clock in a very small window. Sean, it's the one with Julia Roberts in it. Just Google it. All the patriots and truthers down the rabbit hole are telling a lot about what's happening with it. I'll cover some of it this Friday and Saturday. The movie that absolutely woke me up to it all in 1979 was the original version of the movie The Manchurian Candidate. Not the one with Denzel Washington, but the one with Frank Sinatra, Lawrence Harvey, and that movie that is amazing movie once you understand it. Frankenheimer also did the movie, I believe, 7 Days in May. Leave the World Behind. That's right. Thank you, Ashley. The ending, there is no ending to the ending. I mean, it's amazing, just once again, how this all happens, and it's called hide in plain sight. Well, when you're not hiding, when you're completely open, when you're available, when you're aware, when you're not playing small, when you're not worried about what other people are going to think, say, or feel about you, when you're being your best man, your best woman, your best parent, when you're being your best self one day at a time, when you have the courage to be able to pick the telephone up, walk up to the door, whatever it is you require to do, you're being it, and you're not avoiding it. You're not telling yourself stories. You're being your best self. You have absolutely nothing to lose but your own emotional freedom. You have everything to gain by being sovereign. Being sovereign means that you're completely unplugging yourself from the food industry, the big P industry, the big M industry. You're learning how to create your own infinite banking. You don't borrow money from other people unless you have a plan to pay it off. You have a much better skill when it comes to your dialogue with money. And you have 2024, 2025, or YOP, years of profit. These are profit years. These aren't learn years. You're going to continue to learn, but you require YOP, years of profit. I have 31 back-to-back years of profit. I have several years of NP, no profit. You get paid for profit. You don't get paid for time in our world. And profit dollars are what create the good life. If you want to live the good life, free of debt, where you don't ever borrow money from anyone else, I mean, have you factored what it takes to buy a house in today's world? So if you're going to pay 6, 7, 8% interest on a $500,000 house, what's your house payment going to be if you only put down 10%? Even if you put down 20%, what's your house payment going to be? So once again, it's important that you have a better understanding of what it takes for you to be you step off the chessboard and you step into production. My name is Jeffery Combs. I'm the president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. If you're on this Facebook Live and you're a former client and you would like to engage with me about hiring me right now for 2024, feel free to reach out to me. And if you are absolutely in that space that you're ready to next level your life, your business, whatever the situation is, your sobriety, your consciousness, your sovereignty, whatever that is, send me a Facebook Messenger message and I will be back to you within 24 hours. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll be back here at 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Tuesday evening. Have a great afternoon.